Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, November 8th. Over the last 30 days, we've seen precipitation only in the far northern half of the Great Basin, with no precipitation over western and southern Nevada into the Arizona Strip and southern Utah. However, even this precipitation we have seen in the north has been well below normal for the time of year. Looking at our snowpack, we have had no new snowfall in the last 72 hours, and the only snowpack is up across Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah. And this snowpack is generally near normal for the time of year, obviously with little if any snowpack further south and west due to the dry conditions. Looking at our evaporative demand drought index, which takes us from over this last week as of November 3rd, and you can see no drought really occurring across the Great Basin. We have seen drier conditions, but we are seeing much colder temperatures and shorter daylight. However, still significant drought conditions over parts of California up into the Pacific Northwest. The satellite image from this morning shows high pressure dominating the west, so generally clear skies and light winds across the Great Basin. As we move through today, that pattern will not change, with high pressure dominating, light winds, dry conditions, and poor dispersion, again due to those light winds across the area. Temperatures will also remain above normal. Looking at the transport winds, image on the left again shows those light winds across the area, and mixing heights are in the low to moderate range. On Saturday, we do have a cold front that will start dropping south into Montana, but for the most part, not affecting the Great Basin much on Saturday. May see a couple of degrees drop in temperature in the far north, but winds should still remain light with dry conditions and poor dispersion. So again, no significant winds on the transport wind map, and mixing heights still in the low to moderate range. On Sunday, that cold front starts to track a little bit further south and east, mainly affecting the northern Rockies, but we will see a slight drop in temperature on Sunday over parts of Idaho into Wyoming, and before the dry air moves in behind the cold front, we could see some clouds and a few showers. Also, winds will be increasing a little bit on Sunday across parts of southern Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah, so we'll see a little bit better dispersion in those areas, but still poor dispersion across the rest of the Great Basin. And again, on the transport wind image, you can see how the winds increase near and behind that front across southern Idaho and western Wyoming. Could see some gusts around 30 miles per hour, also into the northern Utah mountains. Looking at mixing heights, still remaining in the low to moderate range. Forecast clearing index shows generally moderate or low clearing indices across the state today, with the moderate conditions in the higher elevations. And then things deteriorate on Saturday due to those much lighter winds. And then on Sunday, as winds pick up, especially in the higher elevations, we'll see moderate to high clearing indices over parts of the Uinta Mountains and into the central Utah Mountains, with still low conditions in the valleys over western and eastern Utah. Not much of any precipitation is expected across the Great Basin, but as that cold front drops south over the weekend, we may see a few light showers in central Idaho and into western Wyoming, otherwise dry conditions across the area. As we move into early next week, we will see that ridge of high pressure start to rebuild. Still remains somewhat flat, so northwesterly flow across Idaho and Wyoming. See a little bit better dispersion up there, but generally poor dispersion across the region. We do have another cold front that will drop south on Tuesday and Wednesday, clipping again the northern and eastern side of the Great Basin. So winds will increase on Tuesday, increasing that dispersion across Idaho, Wyoming, and even northern Utah and northeast Nevada. We will also see temperatures drop a little bit more on Tuesday in the far north. As we move into Wednesday, that cold front slides well to the south and east. So we again will see generally poor dispersion in the north as those winds lighten up, but we will see a slight increase in winds over Nevada and Utah behind that front, so we will see better dispersion finally across parts of the southern half of the Great Basin by the middle of the week. But you can see a trough of low pressure off the west coast, and as we move into Thursday, that will approach a little bit more, so we may see a little bit more cloud cover over the northern half of the Great Basin on Thursday. Right now, conditions are still looking pretty dry, not really expecting much in the way of precipitation at this point. And generally winds will remain in the low to moderate range, so the only area that may see a little bit better dispersion on Thursday would be over southern areas of the Great Basin and up into central Utah and western Wyoming. Again, not much of any precip is expected. Any precip we do get with these cold fronts that drop down from the north would possibly be across central Idaho into western Wyoming, but even then any precipitation we do get will be very light. Looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, still showing generally warm and dry conditions as we move through the third week in November. However, we could see some systems that may bring some cloud cover and light precipitation to the Great Basin as we move into the third week of November, so we'll keep watching that. But right now it's not looking like anything especially on the heavy side, but that certainly could change. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Wednesday next week for the latest updates, since Monday is a federal holiday.